Hello, welcome to the Neuff how-to videos. Today we are looking at how to maintain a shot put or hammer. So first of all, the tools for the job. Firstly, we need some old rusty shot or hammers. These shot have been provided to us by our friends at Plymouth Athletics Club, so our great thanks to them for that. Then if you want to do a paint finish, you need some spray paint. It does not have to be this brand, but you do need to make sure that it's a version which does not require primer and undercoat and can go straight onto a metal finish. If you want a plain metal finish, you need some normal light machine oil and a cloth or paper towel or rag to apply it with. You also, for preparing the shot, need just some sandpaper, relatively rough grade because you need to make quite an indent into the surface of the shot. You don't have to get all the paint off, but you do want to get off as much as you can, and you're really trying to work the sandpaper into the surface of the shot. This takes quite some time, so we will have to go away and do this and come back in a moment with a video. But just to show you, as you start sanding, you will start to see a shinier, silvery colour metal shining through the dirt, the rust and the paint, and that's what you're looking for when you're sanding. You shouldn't need to knock any of the mud off or clean the shot first, because any mud and dirt, unless they were really big lumps, should come off during the sanding process. So we're working on sanding the shot off camera at the moment. Just a little tip on how to do that. Rather than holding it like this to do the bulk of it, you want to be putting sandpaper in a cardboard box to hold the mess, and then really just work the shot along the sandpaper in the box. This contains the mess and it allows you to get a much better pressure, and it will take a lot less time. Okay, so we have now sanded down our shot. As you can see, there's still a fair amount of paint on it, but the surface is relatively smooth and you can see the shiny metal surface has come through. Also, we can now see that there are no substantial dings or dents in this shot, and it is fundamentally still round, so we can continue to use this as a decent shot, probably okay condition for competition. So we're going to now paint it. As you can see from my hands, the surface of this shot is very dirty from the sanding. What you need to do is you need to wipe it down really carefully. You may need to use a damp cloth in order to wipe all of the dirt off. You may find that it comes off sufficiently with a dry cloth. If you are using a damp cloth, make sure that you leave the shot to properly air dry before you start painting it. Okay, so I think this one is probably good enough now to paint. We've managed to get all the dust off the surface. Cloth is coming up relatively clear now. So I've set up a spray painting area. We've got a box to catch the spray paint, so you're not spray painting it behind you. For heaven's sake, don't do this on the kitchen table. And we've also got a ring from the inside of some sellotape to sit the shot on so it doesn't roll away. Now, paying attention to the instructions on the back of the particular paint that you have, you need to be following their instructions. This one tells me I've shaken it for 3 minutes and now I'm going to apply some light even coats. You need to make sure you're using a well ventilated area and following the instructions on the can. I'm going to leave that to dry and then apply a few more coats. So while we're waiting for the paint to dry, we're going to come to this shot. And we've sanded down this one and we have discovered that it's got some really heavy dings in it, where it's obviously been thrown onto very stony ground. It is not any longer completely round, and some of these dips are strong enough to provide grip to your fingers. So this shot would no longer be useful in competition, but it can still be used for training, so we're just going to oil this one up. So same as the last one, we're going to just rub the dirt off to provide a cleaner surface. And then we're going to get some of our light machine oil, just a small amount, and we're just going to rub that lightly onto the surface of the shot, and you can see that that comes up quite nicely. Again, you don't want to be doing this prior to a training session, or this shot is going to go slipping right out of your hands. This is to be done after a training session, so that you've got, you know, a few days for the oil to work in. And it's a good idea to just give it a quick rub over with a dry cloth before using it. In order to not need to maintain your shot in this heavy duty way so often, we recommend that after each training session you just use a dry cloth to brush any mud off, or you can use a damp cloth if it's a very, very muddy implement. Again, just get some of this light machine oil and just wipe the shot over in exactly this way after every use, and you'll find that your shot lasts substantially longer than if it goes back into the cupboard covered in mud and slightly damp. So we've now finished our 2 shot. We have the plain oiled version. Now, as you can see, once we've sanded this off, got the dirt off it, it actually isn't round. It's very obvious now that it is not in a particularly good condition. It's got some really heavy dents and dings to it, and it's no longer circular. This would not be appropriate for use in any competitions, but it would probably make a reasonable training implement, and it should last quite a lot longer for the club to use for training purposes. The painted shot actually now looks in pretty good nick. Many athletes would be happy to use that in training, and it would also be suitable for competition purposes, up to UKA standard. It took about 4 or 5 coats of paint, turning it each time, so painting it, turning so that the other surfaces get covered. So each surface probably has about 2 to 3 coats of paint on it, and it's got a really tough finish. We hope you found this video useful. Enjoy your sport.